Speaking of Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie is coming out soon. I think before near Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool. There's multiverses just colliding, and it creates a black hole under the world, and all the cities just connect and just get sucked in. It's pretty insane.
Nuts.
I am Jessica McDonald, 2019 World Cup champion, full-time soccer player, and full-time mom, and this is Double Duty. Soccer is my job.
U.S. program that began in 1985. Dunn into the box. She found McDonald. What a stop. Moraes. McDonald again. Goal!
I always wanted to do that Michael Jordan pose. Remember Michael Jordan with all his rings? I've always wanted to do that. And, so I need to get the rest of them out of stores so I would love that same pose.
I have to work hard, not only for my team, not only for myself, but my son who's relying on me. I have a human being who relies on me, who looks up to me, who I take care of.
My son and I celebrating in France on the stage. He's spraying confetti all over me, and this is one of the proudest moments in my entire life for myself. And to be able to share it with my 7-year-old, it was cherry on top. And
all the snow angels, that's after the snow angels.
Yeah, and this was sent to me as a gift. Someone framed it for me, and this is just one of those moments that I will cherish for the rest of my life. And Jeremiah may not understand right now what this moment means, but this moment is everything to me because of just the ups, the downs, just the entire journey, the process. You gotta fall in love with the process in order to succeed, and I had realized that in this moment. And this is a moment that is just so hard to describe to people. People ask me all the time, what was it like winning the World Cup? And so many words do come to mind, but it's very hard to explain because this is just something that I've wanted my entire life.
I grew up the only girl in my family. I had a lot of boy cousins, and I had an older brother, Brandon McDonald, who was 2 years older than me. And we were just very active kids all the time. So the only way we really entertained ourselves was being outside, being active, going to the park, playing American football with our friends, basketball, skating. We even did street hockey, you name it. We did it as kids. We were just always outside and active. And so I like to think of myself as this sort of underdog in the family because I was the only girl. I wasn't allowed to act like a girl if I wanted to hang out with the boys. I had to be just as tough. I wasn't allowed to cry. Ran with that chip on my shoulder, and it carried into my career now. And so I dabbled into every sport, and I was very blessed to be able to kind of get out of the house. Sport kind of came into my life, and being able to use that as a coping mechanism. My mother, she was also a multi-sport athlete, phenomenal athlete. She was the only female on the men's high school soccer team, so she was a phenomenal soccer player. And so within a year, I was 13 years old, I got my first call up with the youth national team, U14s, and this is where I first met Tobin Heath, Casey Noguera, just a long list of these phenomenal players. And it was a privilege to be there and represent the USA at such a young age, and I saw my potential at that time in soccer. I ended up transferring to University of North Carolina, full ride scholarship for soccer. Anson Dorrance didn't give up on me. I get drafted into WPS, which was an incredible feeling. I get my first start in August of 2010, my rookie year, for Chicago Red Stars. I ended up rupturing my patellar tendon, which is a major tendon in your knee. It's way worse than tearing your ACL. My surgeon told me I had very small chance, 1 in 10 chance of even playing sports at a high level again. And that was devastating news because only thing I ever knew in my life was sports and playing them. And I'm thinking I'm gonna be this pro, long-term pro. And so it was a 2-year recovery, and I had to have a real support system at that point because everyone's knocking at your door when you're a pro. You know, you have this long list of friends, you know, your family's there, like everything's cool and dandy, but when all that stops, you really realize who is part of your circle. And that was probably one of the darkest times of my life. It was going through rehab. It was devastating, but I feel like it pushed me mentally and physically for sure. So a year into my recovery, it's a 2-year recovery, a year into my recovery, I find out I'm pregnant with my son. 23 years old, here I am pregnant. I had my son at 24. After having my son, after like a couple months, I'm like, holy crap, I feel good. Like it was my first time really ever since my knee surgery where I felt amazing. Better than I did when I was 18 years old. I'm like, this is absolutely insane. And so did some research. I talked to a really close friend of mine, and he was like, your son, he healed you. You know, the hormones and things like that, having a child, you know, different vitamins and things like that, a long list of scientific things. I really truly believe being pregnant with my son has really helped with my knee recovery. And those aren't really things that you hear about a lot, but I really truly deeply believe that. I don't think I would be here today hadn't I had my son. Okay, Jess. Oh, my grandma's from Alabama, so I grew up on Southern food. Yeah, yeah. Sis, oh, I love Southern food. It's my favorite food. That's why it's called Southern Comfort. Okay, Kendall. A lot of lessons that I have learned being an athlete has definitely carried over into parenting. My son, 2 years ago, he fell out of a tree. He's a tree climber, which I absolutely love. And he fell out of the tree and broke his arm. And he was devastated. He was like, I'm never gonna climb that tree again. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not, sir. Like, you will climb that tree again. And he's just like devastated over this tree. And I'm like, you see this scar on my knee? I did this playing soccer, you know that, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, and what does mommy still do? Play soccer. That's right. So you're gonna climb that tree again. Don't let trees frighten you just because of one accident. So the reason why he broke his arm climbing the trees because he was trying to do a Spider-Man move in that tree. As soon as he got his cast off, he climbed the tree. And he just felt so happy again. He was like, oh, I climbed the tree today. I'm like, good, thank God, you know? So little things like that, I'm able to teach my son the same lessons that I've gone through, even just simply through athletics.
I had made the Olympic qualifying team, and we ended up winning the CONCACAF championship in 2020. My favorite medal, that's up here, the smallest, but yeah, the biggest accomplishment of literally my entire life. Minus giving birth, that's a huge accomplishment.
Things are going to happen. You know, accidents are going to happen. We're going to make mistakes. It's how we come out of that is what defines our character. That'll make you stronger, son. It's things like that that will make you stronger mentally and physically. I got invited into national team camp, which was for 2 weeks in Portugal. I'm so pumped because I know this is preparation for the World Cup. But my kid's in school. My kid can't miss 2 weeks of school. I'm a single parent. I have no family here. I have no blood relatives here. But I do have, I guess blood can bring us any closer. I do have a family here in North Carolina. Literally call them mom and dad, and they have a daughter who I call my sister pretty much. And I was having dinner with them one day, and I was telling them about camp, and we're pumped, and I was opening up to them. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my son. They were just like, why don't you just come move in with us? We'll take care of Jeremiah while you're on the road. You know, once you make the World Cup team, you know, blah, 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 you know, this will be all worth it, you know. And I was like, Dan, like, don't get ahead of yourself. This is my first camp in a couple of years. The cool thing is with the national team, they're very supportive of moms, which is very comforting. You know, they fly the nanny out, they fly the kid out, they put us in the hotel, they put the nanny in the hotel. you know, all the above, everything's set up. And I'm also the only mom on this team. I've been the only mom on every pro team so far. Now I'm the only mom on the national team at this point. Underdog mentality from when I was a little girl, just carrying over even at the international level with the USA team. Gave literally all my blood, sweat, and tears into every single camp leading into the World Cup. So every month from November all the way until July 7th, which is when the World Cup final was, every month for between 2 and 4 weeks, I was gone. I was on the road. I was overseas somewhere, and I had to miss all that time away from my son. But I'm just so thankful for the family that I had here in North Carolina to help take care of him while I was gone. I'm very grateful that, you know, I was able to have that support system while I was on the road leading into the World Cup. And then mid-April hits. This is the end of our last camp before we leave in like mid-May for preparation for the World Cup. Yeah, first time? Two. Yeah, Taz. Good ball, Merritt. Good touch, Kendall. There you go. Tighten your core. Good. Nobody knows when they're getting a phone call in these 4 days, and this is the longest 4 days of my life. Okay, I didn't get a call the first day. I didn't get a call the second day. It's either a yes or a no, so it's 50-50 at this point. I'm like, this is my life I'm literally waiting for right now. My dream coming true, just waiting for this phone call. I've been waiting for this phone call at that point for 30 years. I'm 30 years old. Literally one of the oldest players on the team, which is unheard of. And so, third day comes, and I'm in the doctor's office, actually. Annually, I go and get an x-ray on my knee, my surgical knee, to make sure it's okay. That's it. I just do this annual checkup because I'm superstitious like that. And I'm literally in the middle of my doctor's office, and my phone starts to ring, and it's Jill Ellis. And my team doctor, he knows what's going on. He knows we're waiting for these phone calls, and he turns around in his chair, just like eyes wide open. So I'm like, hey, Jill, and he's like, oh. So he got to witness this phone call, and she's like, hey, Jill, how are you? Good, thanks. You know, heart rate, if I had a heart rate monitor on, you guys, it would have been at like 200 plus. Probably have to resuscitate me at some point. But she's like, you wanna know your answer? I'm like, yes. And she's like, you're going to the World Cup. And immediately, I'm bawling, crying, because it's just such a relief. I told you guys about all my trades, the ups, the downs, the full-time jobs that I had to work in the off seasons, like everything just rushed to me, and I'm like, finally, you know, just such relief. And don't even hear anything Jill Ellis is saying on the phone at this point, you know, because I'm just crying out loud. And she told me this is one of her favorite parts of the job, and she was excited about, you know, my tears of joy over the phone. And so, you know, helmet on for impact from this point on. So obviously we work our tails off leading into World Cup, and here I am, World Cup champion. And my son got to come to France with me. He was there to witness it, and he was 7 years old at the time, and he'll remember that for the rest of his life. I love bonding with him. He's just such an amazing kid just to be around. I asked Jeremiah after the World Cup. I mean, we're there for like 6 weeks. We were leaving, we're on a charter flight, and I was like, buddy, did you enjoy France? He's like, yeah. What was your favorite part about France, about the whole World Cup? What was your favorite part? It could be anything. He goes, these fruit snacks. And just like, eat these fruit. My jaw, you guys. I was like, you're such a kid. I love it though. So I was just like, oh, thanks. Okay, cool, thumbs up. Fruit snacks. Fruit snacks are way better than the World Cup. Sounds good. Cool.
Oh, then it actually worked. And I was like, oh my goodness, it actually worked. How did I do that? And then I kept doing it again, then I got faster.
Jumbo aside, and then do that. This kid's impressive. He's definitely an athlete, so he's been in swimming all year, so he just finished his basketball season not long ago, and he just asked me to run track. I never influenced him whatsoever, but he knows that he's fast. He's a little firecracker. He can run, he can jump, and I see it within him because he'll call me out and be like, Mom, I'll race you. I'm like, oh, bring it on. I'm gonna beat the time that you try and freeze.
No, unless if you go into the future.
Well, then I'll just do nothing.
But it's going to be
you in a race.
No, you're going to have to go really fast.
See these conversations that we have? This is a real conversation. These are conversations we have all the time. You know, I'm in sandals and jeans, about probably pull a muscle, but you know, we'll sit there and race in the middle of the street. But he asked me one day, probably about 3 weeks ago, he said, Mom, I want to run. I was like, what do you mean you want to run? Like, you want to go outside and just run? He's like, no, I want to race other kids my age. I want to race the best in the world. I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't force these things on him. I never have. Of course I'm gonna throw him in stuff just to see what he likes, but he asked for it. And I was like, okay. So we went and saw a track coach, and the fastest 9-year-old on their team was going to nationals in a couple of days. And he, you know, looks Jeremiah up and down. He was like, you fast? But the only thing he said, you fast? And Jeremiah's, yeah, I'm fast. You want to race? Jeremiah's like, yeah, let's race. Jeremiah just blew this kid out of the water. I was like, okay. And then a couple days later, this kid ranked 6th, I think, at nationals. And I'm like, if this kid's ranking 6th at national, you know, so I see potential in my son with whatever he wants to do. So I think the competitive side of things, he definitely gets from me because he's very competitive and he wants to win all the time.
18, 19, 20. Yeah. Oh, flex your muscles. Say good.
I try and tell him about the losses as well. So he's lost, you know, a couple of basketball games this season, and he's a little sad about it. I'm like, dude, like, it comes with the territory. You're gonna lose at some point. You can't win all the time. That's not, you can't grow and learn from just winning. I've lost so many soccer games. You've seen Mommy lose a lot of soccer games. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. You witnessed me win championships too. So we lost games in that season and still ended up winning championships. So it happens. But his personality is definitely one for the books. He loves video games, just like any other boy. I'm just making sure he's gonna stay active until the day he moves out of my household. So he wants to build a video game one day. So he's been in coding all year as well. So now he's putting some film together. Now he's able to put characters together on a green screen. I don't know the terminology, he knows it all, but he's putting characters together and moving them, and he can do sound now. This kid can do just so many things. He loves skating, he's so active, but he also loves technology, and he's able to dabble with technology. And
This is the goal, and then it will like,
shot right on in there.
yeah.
Good
like,
job, man.
There's like the small part where the ball is bigger,
Yeah.
but it went so fast, it actually just went right through.
That's amazing. You know how hard it is to hit those balls in foosball? I struggle. Even though I play soccer for a living, I struggle hitting the foosball. So that's awesome you got to do that. Are you kidding me?
And when it was right, like the goal is right here, and it was so close, but then all I did was bump the ball sideways, and it literally just bounced right there. I kicked it, and then it went so fast.
Yeah. I think in the future, coding and tech is going to be very important in the future. So this is just another opportunity for my kid. If he wants to stick with coding and art and design, then he's able to do that. And he's just one in a million, to me at least, you know. So I'm just happy to
Yeah, if you put your
be
eye,
able to
like,
provide
right
him
here,
with these things, to be able
close
to
your
give him these
left
things,
eye,
to be able to
you
do
can
it.
actually see
And
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No, there's even more of you that appeared.
my hopes and dreams for Jeremiah, most important thing is to be a good person. How do you think you would feel if you were the fastest 9-year-old in the United States of America?
Oh my goodness. I have no idea. I would just feel like so protected and like famous.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so many people know me and like they know that I'm very special.
Yeah. You know you're very special, right?
Yeah.
I know you're very special. I always tell him I don't like bullies. I don't want my son being a bully. I want him to be kind and loving and things like that. And accept everybody. Just be accepting and don't judge just for the way people look, you know, within that regard, and to just give him opportunities. Like, I'm here to give my son opportunities, and I'm throwing him in everything in life right now I possibly can right now with my busy schedule, and just want him to be great at whatever it is that he's gonna do. If he wants to be an architect, I want him to be the best architect, because I know he can be. You know, his future is very bright, because I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna give him that opportunity to make sure that he's gonna have options to do whatever he wants. He doesn't even have to be a pro athlete, but if he wants to, I want him to be the best at whatever sport it is, or, you know, if he wants to go into business, I want him to be the best businessman. So being a good human being, being a good person is the most important thing to me, and that's exactly what I want to raise. And good human being, but being the best at whatever it is that he's gonna do.